Thank you for staying with us. A 24-hour curfew has been imposed on Mangu Council area following a clash between some herders and a native, resulting in killings and a burning of houses and property. For now, motorists plying the highway within the Mangu Council area have been warned to stay away from the area until security improves. Finam Joshua has details.
Residents of Mangu town in the Mangu Council area of Plateau State woke up to another sad news of killings and burning of properties following an alleged misunderstanding between some cattle rearers and a native. A 24-hour curfew imposed in the state by the state governor is fully active. Motorists plying the highways within the Mangu Council area have also cautioned to stay away for their safety until security improves.
Yes, it became necessary to impose the curfew because of the level of damages that is going on in Mangu. And so we want to implore the people of Plateau State, everybody should remain calm. Anybody that was intending to travel along that route should shelve that journey for now until you receive further directives as to how safe that route is. We should cooperate with security agencies, pass relevant and correct information, because that's normally, don't give us sentimental information, please.
There's presently a curfew in Mangu because of the little ish that happened in that axis today. There was a little skirmish of attack in some parts of that particular area. And by the grace of God, our very alert police officers and special forces repel fire effectively. And I can also assure you that there are casualties on the side of the assailants.
Residents are advised to stay indoors and allow the security operatives to perform their duty of maintaining law and order.
Finam Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
Well, joining us via Zoom from Jos is security expert, conflict mediator and peace advocate, Melvin Eje. Melvin, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Unfortunately, we are witnessing another crisis in Mangu local government area, despite government's effort to bring about some relative peace in that particular council. I'm wondering why it's so difficult to achieve peace in that area.
It's actually very surprising that most of the peace workers, I think, we are actually very frustrated with this level of mentalism, desperation, and criminality in Mangu local government. It's actually very tiring.
Mr.
It's demoralizing. High time we come together to solve this problem. We must come together to solve this problem. The problem lies with the community. The problem lies with the people itself. Let me tell you something that you need to know. The problem of crisis in Mangu and other parts of Plateau State, 25% of it is military and security option, while the 75% is the political will and the community. The community must agree to solve its problem. The people must agree to solve its problem. But on the other hand, we have the issue of criminality. People who have vowed that Plateau State will not be peace. Despite the effort of government, the governor, despite the effort of the military task force in that local and other security areas, there are people who have vowed that Plateau State will not be peaceful. We really don't know what their motives are, but actually very disheartening. I'm actually very weak this morning. I'm actually very demoralized this morning because we've achieved peace in Mangu. Peace have returned. People are going back to their normal businesses. Nobody hoped for this kind of rubbish to happen in Mangu again. At the time, peace have returned. At the time, people have embraced each other. At the time, confidence is being built in the community.
Observers say that this particular episode of crisis in Mangu was not even political in nature, neither was it related to farmer or herders, farmers and herders crisis, but between a native and, a non-native. I wonder what your thoughts are about, this particular violence and how you think it can be curbed, because there is a growing sentiment, so to speak, I use growing cautiously, that says non-natives have the right to live anywhere. This against the rights of indigents in their domains.
I think the Constitution is very clear about where one can live in Nigeria, but the Constitution also makes it very clear that in as much as you live in a particular terrain, you must live there peacefully, because where your rights stops, that's where the rights of another person starts from. We have to be mindful of this very fact. If anybody says it has nothing to do with sentiment and farmer assessment conflict or farmer assessment attack or banditry attack from intruders, Mangu, that person is not correct, because why this crisis escalated was because of the deep-rooted sentiment in the mind. There is no trust among each other. There is no confidence. What really happened shouldn't have resulted. We know what happened. A local was beaten to up by headers were running cow. He was going about his normal business on his bike and he was beaten. And all of a sudden, some criminals took laws into their hands and started attacking people again. Before you know it, if you beat somebody is involved. The reported security agencies, why security agencies were on top of the situation, they still went ahead and into attack community. So it's very sad. We have this deep-rooted sentiment and hatred for each other to the point that any little thing can trigger attack. So we must begin to build confidence. We must begin to actually learn to live together. We don't have a choice than to live together in Mangu and other parts of Plateau State. First of all, we must think about forgiveness. Secondly, we must drop all form of sentiment. We are all Nigerians and reserve the right to live. We have right to live. So the major issue for me is criminality and lack of forgiveness among each other. We don't trust each other. We don't trust ourselves. We therefore can't work together like that.
And that's why I'm wondering if a declaration of a state of emergency can really address the underlying issues that have resulted in this crisis that we have witnessed in Mangu and some other parts of Plateau State in recent times. Is that really the way to go? And is it so difficult to address these underlying issues? You have mentioned unforgiveness, lack of trust. How do we deal with them?
I think the declaration of course by His Excellency is timely, but it's just a temporary reprieve to allow security agencies to contain the situation, to actually not address the major issue. The major issue lies in ideology, it lies in the heart of the people. The issue majorly, is, like I told you, is the issue of hatred for one another, is the issue of lack of commitment of peace, of the peace process among the communities. So we should sit down together. My major concern, I normally use this word, is my attempt that we should sit together. It doesn't really mean that we should sit on the round table alone. We should speak about these issues, speak about those issues. Then the political will from government must be very sound. The government must show that its body language is willing to end this crisis. Thank God that this government of Mutfwang is doing so much to get this crisis off Plateau State. It's been very committed, it's been engaging in non-kinetic actions, and that's the only way to go about it, because non-kinetic. The kinetic can only do very little. You can actually use the barrier of gun for very few people. But the major issue, the main thing to do is to address the non-kinetic root of these issues, which is sentiment, religious coloration, politics, and ego. Those are the issues affecting crisis in Mangu and other part of Plateau State. We have refused to forgive each other. We have refused to live together again.
Why is that? That's the question. Why is that? Why have people suddenly refused to live together? Why have they suddenly have no trust for one another? Why is all of these issues lingering?
It's called a mutual distrust and sometimes political reasons. If anybody tells this crisis have not to do with politics, person is lying. There's political undertone. Some persons are not comfortable with your political party. They are not really comfortable with what you are doing, and they may just their body language will not support this. Their body language will enthrone crisis. So, if we begin to trust ourselves and really work together, we are going to get it right. The trusts have gone because there's a perceived injustice in the part of the locals. The locals have been killed over time for a very, very, very long time. The locals are the primary target of these marauders who come into their community and kill. If I'm living with you, and for instance, an attacker comes from outside, you accommodate an attacker, you aid him to attack me, the issue of trust will not be there. I will really not trust you. So that's part of the issue. Then we should have the issue of no party to this conflict is innocent. All the parties are complicit one way or the other. Because we have criminals also taking advantage of this very crisis on the plateau. So we must sit down together and address the non-kinetic aspect of it. We must tell ourselves the truth and shift grounds if possible. By the time we do that, it will be more easier for the security agencies to do their work. Leaving it for security agencies alone, it won't work. It's practically won't work. If you know what the Operation Safe Haven are going through on a daily basis, I tell you, you won't believe. Imagine someone like Iran Major General leading operations himself, going to the bush every day. The GOC does not sleep. I do not think in this modern world it should be like that. Every day the GOC is up, his men, his team are up, the soldiers are up, the police are up. How long are we going to continue with this on the Plateau state? Plateau needs to grow. Development needs to come in. Investors needs to come in. If you look at the humanitarian angle of it, it's very sad that we have a situation whereby allegedly some families, 5 families were wiped out in this crisis. Very sad. Father, mother, and children were wiped out in one room. These are people that have been living together. These are people that did not plan to die like this in the morning. They had their plans for the year, they had their plans for the month, they had their plans for the week, but they were cut down. We have seen little children, 3-month-old children beheaded in this crisis. What kind of heartlessness is that?
How long do you think this curfew should last? Because the government has imposed this curfew, saying it will run for 24 hours and then there will be a review. What are your thoughts?
I think the government should allow the curfew for now. Let us give you a small room for people to go about their normal business. People just go out and shop and come back. While the curfew still remain in force, because if the curfew is lifted, we are going to have some little issues because the crisis needs to be contained properly before the curfew is lifted. So I support the curfew wholeheartedly. My only appeal is that government should create a window, a little window, if it's from 9 a.m. to 12. Let people go about, get foodstuff and come back to their houses. But they must learn to live in the room. They must remain in the room until we get some level of peace. I think that's what is required in Mangu local government right now. Lifting the curfew now will be very dangerous, I think, to my understanding. There are still anger, there are still sentiment, there are still, the wound is still fresh. So I think lifting curfew now will not be in the best interest of peace.
Now, you mentioned a perceived sense of injustice from the locals. And there are those who have also mentioned that. I am wondering what justice would be like. Is it about bringing persons to book who have been fingered to be fueling this crisis?
I think we are getting it right lately from the coming of this new administration of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. I am not afraid of saying it anywhere. The previous administration paid only lip service to security, especially former settlement conflicts. I'm not afraid of saying it anywhere. They paid only lip service. But I think the president is very serious about ending this insecurity from the steps he has taken. The coming of the service chief, the coming of the GOC, several arrests have been made and they are facing justice as it stands today. But previous, this anger we're talking about did not start today. There are anger that have been bottled for as far as 10, 20 years. The anger have been bottled for as far as 15 years. So I think if the government sustains this fight and people are beginning to see justice to address some of the issues. For instance, people are arrested from attack. You know, people who they claim who killed your uncle was arrested. After 2 weeks' time, you release him and you come back to the community and start boasting for you that you can't do anything. So that alone will give you will create some anger. So I think when people commit an offense, they should be dealt with appropriately. When people commit offense, they should be shown that there is a law in this country. But over time, before now, we didn't have that happening in Nigeria. Some very powerful persons have been touched in this government. This government have arrested very powerful individuals that connected this crisis, and they are whisked away to Abuja, and we're happy about that. These were people that were ab initio untouchable in Plateau. These are people that you cannot even go close to them on the Plateau. But as I speak to you now, they have been arrested. And I commend the president and security team for doing that.
How can the government, or using the weapon or using the tool of sovereignty, the government being in charge, how can the government come in to quell these issues of trust, these issues of impatient hatred that we are seeing brewing up over and over again in Mangu and other areas that have been rife, that have been violence rife? Do you subscribe to government, especially during this period of a curfew, coming in terms of the non-kinetic solutions that you're advocating for?
I think government can come in through a non-kinetic approach because we don't have much on the ground. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have logistics without security agencies. They want to do the work. Some of them, their morale is very low because of bad welfare, because of understrengths. So government must key into non-kinetic. They should engage CSOs, they should engage peace workers to be able to do some of this work. And the community also must be willing to embrace peace. We must learn to forgive. And government must also continue in what they are doing in this President Ahmed Bola Tinubu's administration, where people are being arrested, people are being shown that they are untouchable. When people begin to see that the government is taking proactive steps in addressing the issue of injustice, they are going to naturally forgive. And let me tell you, this arrest should be cut across every tribe, every conflict, every party in the conflict, because everybody, almost everybody, are liable to this. One way or the other, they are liable. We have criminals in the side of the locals, we have criminals inside of the Fulani. So this is not to embellish any tribe. We have criminals across board. Every part of the country, we have people who take laws into their hand in terms of this crime. So government must be neutral, government must remain committed, and government should engage more in non-kinetic approach in solving these issues. The issue of rifle, the barrier of guns won't solve this problem, because it's about ideology. Some people believe that this is what they believe in. It's not gone. If you kill them, they will come back. Some of them don't even care to die. If you kill all of them, I don't think they really bother. They will still come back because it's an ideology. So government should sustain the issue of justice. Should pursue justice. Should pursue non-kinetic approach. Government should engage the community to ensure that some key decisions are influenced in the communities.
Right. There's another matter that has sprung up recently that people have been talking about, and it seems the government is not seemingly paying attention to that. The rich mineral deposits, which there are those who are saying that this is part of the reasons why crises have been festering in a place like Mangu. What do you say to that?
I agree absolutely with that narrative, because we're on ground, we know what is happening. That's why I bring in the issue of humanity in, because there are people who want to displace some communities to begin to mine their land illegally. And government must be very serious about it. The Minister of Solid Minerals must move into this quickly to address that aspect. That's why government must put their hand on deck and government must address that issue. We have people who are made their mind that this community will be sacked because they have vast mineral resources there. If you need the mineral from the community, I don't think you need to go through the back door. Apply through the mining cadastre, follow all the process, get community consent and come and mine. But because they are criminals, because they have criminal intention, oftentimes the displaced community rather occupy this community and begin to mine. So I agree absolutely with that narrative. It is not out of place. The narrative is very correct. It's not out of place. It's happening in Plateau, and we can see it happening clearly.
And is that a porous area on the part of the government? Is the government paying the needed attention to this, avenue to also wreak havoc in Mangu and its environs?
I think the government have not really moved into that aspect now, but I just pray that they look into that direction quickly to cover that gap. For now, they have not moved in, and that's what will happen on some of the last. President Tinubu about to create mining police and create other agencies in the mining sector that will check some of these activities. My appeal is I'm urging him to create them quickly so that they cover these spaces in this on government space in the mining sector. It's actually a problem. Most of the areas you see people being displaced. We have deep mineral resources in those areas. So government must take that very serious as well.
Earlier you mentioned the political undertone to all of the crisis. Do you think the state government, will be able to arrest that aspect?
The state government is doing a lot to address it. His body language, his actions, he's doing a lot. The security agents are happy with him because he's taking very practical steps. I've worked in Plateau State for over 15 years, so I know that the action of this governor, even though we cannot mention some on national television, are very, very commendable. The governor is doing so much to address the issues, and I'm sure if there's any committee, he's going to implement the report in his time. There are several committees lying down fallow in the government house, but if there's anyone now, this governor will follow it to the letter. The governor is trying, and I think he will live up with that political sentiment.
There's still, Mr. J, a section of people who are, still casting spotlight on the role security agencies have been playing so far in maintaining the peace in Plateau State. Some say there's still, a level of bias on their part, I should say. But what do you really think?
in every general rule, there must be an exception. So I cannot tell you all the security agencies are 100% correct because they also come from the community. They also come from religion. They may have their little sentiment. But for sure, I know that the Safe Haven led by Major General A.B. Abu Salam is on top of his tool and have been very neutral in this crisis. He has neutralized bandits from across all board. He's not a better person, and I think his soldiers are doing so much to keep that tempo because the head is straight, so the soldiers cannot afford not to do that. But you cannot rule out the fact that there are still little conspiracy somewhere. Somehow there are still little bias from some person because they come from community, they come from religion, and they have their own resentment and sentiment. So you cannot rule that out completely. But I think Operation Safe Haven under this GC is doing so well. They have done so much to stabilize Plateau. I wish people know the kind of effort, the kind of sacrifice they are making to keep Plateau safe. We would have appreciated these guys better.
Right. Now, we know that Mangu and Bokos play a key role when we're talking about food. And there are those who are concerned that if this matter is not addressed head-on, we might be facing a food crisis in the coming days. Talk to us from that aspect, how much of a challenge this is going to be if this matter is not tackled as quickly as possible.
It is very sad that it's a very sad reality that Mangu and Bokos are the hub of food in Plateau State, supply North Central and supply the entire Nigeria, especially Irish potato and vegetable. If you come to the Plateau market now, the price of bag of Irish have skyrocketed since that crisis. Even on the Plateau here, it's telling on us. So if this is not, the Mangu have vast land where they cultivate maize. Most of the maize you see in Lagos today are cultivated from Mangu local government. Most of the maize you see in Kano and other parts of the town of the country are cultivated in Mangu local government and Boko. So if we don't address it, it's going to affect food security, it's going to affect food abundance in Nigeria by before this year, not even next year, because we're going to start feeling the effect this year, because as it stands now, farmers can't go to farm, farmers can't go to harvest before now. So I'm sure if this issue is not resolved, we're going to have a long day of starvation in Nigeria. Mangu and Bokos supply most of the food we get from North Central, and we cannot afford to miss this opportunity. That's why I'm calling that we should come together and solve this problem. The security agencies, are doing their best to escort farmers to farm, provide security for them to go to their farm. But how long can they do that? What is their strength? How many are they? And they cover all the farms in Mangu and Bokos government. The answer is obviously no. So we need the community to come together. We need all the parties to sit down together and address this issue themselves.
All right, we'll have to leave this conversation here now and hope for the best in the coming days with regards to addressing this security crisis in Mangu and some parts of Plateau State. But we must thank you, Melvin Eje, security expert, conflict mediator, and peace advocate.